The news from Guyana, the region and the world. Compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom and powered by DemeraraWaves.com.
The news comes to you with the compliments of Eureka Medical Laboratories. With the news at this time, I am Tiana Jordan. A very good morning to you. First, the lead stories. A search team has spotted fishing gear from the sunken trawler, but there has so far been no sign of the missing fisherman. A man wanted for the shooting death of his son-in-law has been arrested at an international airport attempting to leave Guyana. In regional news, Suriname has lifted its COVID measures. And for the international news, we'll bring to you the latest bulletin from the BBC World Service. The details of these and other stories will be coming up right here in just a moment.
A COVID-19 PCR test is now mandatory for many routine activities, including travel and return to work purposes. At Eureka, our trained and experienced staff will ensure confidentiality while your test is conducted in a professional and timely manner, with results in just 48 hours. So the next time you require an efficient and hassle-free PCR COVID-19 test, call 624-8378, 608-8378, or 623-7233 to schedule your appointment. You can also ask about our house call testing service.
And now the news in detail. As families await word about the disappearance of 3 fishermen after a seabub trawler sank off the coast of Maikoni early Saturday morning, officials on Monday said emergency response was hampered by the late delivery of information to authorities. Director General of the Maritime Administration, Captain Stephen Thomas, said nearby vessels did not receive distress radio messages on the emergency communication channel from the ill-fated trawler, World Friend 307.
If we had gotten, for instance, a report, then we would just inform vessels that there's a vessel with a potential problem, and they would have started closing in on the area. But as I said, we had nothing of that nature in this instance.
The MARAD Director General said he received information about the trawler at about 6 hours 45 Saturday evening. Although officials were informed that Noble House Seafoods received information about 5:30 Saturday morning. Those missing are the vessel's captain, 45-year-old Harold Anthony Damon, 78-year-old Ronald Burton, and 46-year-old Winston Sam. Winston Dazzle was rescued in a life raft by fishermen and reported the mishap to police and the company. A search, rescue and recovery team has spotted the net of the trawler that capsized in the Atlantic Sea early Saturday morning. None of the 3 fishermen who went missing has been seen so far. Public Works Minister Deodat Indar says the search team has seen the net floating in the general area where the trawler sank. He says the Guyana Defense Force Coast Guard, divers were not able to dive on Monday and will return to the area today in hope of reaching the trawler named World Friend 307 and owned by Noble House Seafoods. Lloyd's Register, LR, and Matpal Marine Institute Incorporated, a maritime and oil and gas education training and support center, have signed a memorandum of understanding to jointly support safe maritime training in Guyana. As part of the memorandum of understanding, Matpal will promote and host LR training courses in its training center. Training courses will include ship emergency response service, risk management and incident investigation and practical approach to ship surveys, amongst others. The Memorandum of Understanding will focus on local content development in Guyana and support oil and gas companies to navigate requirements in the region. This follows recent plans by the Guyana government to equip 4,000 young people with the necessary technical and vocational skills to help employment. Guyana's COVID death toll is now 1,213, but there is a sharp decline in the number of new cases and overall active cases. The Health Ministry says 2 more persons who were not vaccinated have died from the viral disease. At the same time, official figures show a steady reduction in the number of new cases. 12 new cases have been recorded. Guyana now has 840 active cases, with 68 of them hospitalized and 772 told to isolate themselves at home to avoid spreading the disease. The Health Ministry also says that of those hospitalized, 11 of them are very sick and are receiving intensive care. The man who allegedly shot dead his son-in-law has been captured while attempting to leave Guyana. The Guyana Police Force Crime Chief, Senior Superintendent Wendell Blanham, said the suspect was held on Monday at the Eugene F. Carayo Ogle International Airport shortly before he was due to board a plane to Trinidad and then to the United States. He is accused of the shooting death of 25-year-old Leon Gittings of 118 Cowan Street, Kingston. The incident occurred in East La Penitence when Gittings went to visit his girlfriend. The perpetrator was dressed in wig and dress when he opened fire on Gittings in the presence of his daughter at midnight on February 18, 2022 at Lot 211 Freeman Street, East La Penitence. A Venezuelan man has been stabbed to death and the alleged perpetrator has since been arrested. The dead man has been identified as 29-year-old Dr. Eduardo Gonzalez. The incident occurred at Ragu Sports Bar on the Soosdijk Junction shortly before 10 o'clock Saturday night. Investigators were informed that the victim was with his brother and several friends at the bar when the assailant approached the victim. During the altercation, the suspect stabbed Eduardo Gonzalez to his right side chest, which caused the victim to fall to the ground. Eduardo Gonzalez was rushed to the Diamond Diagnostic Center, where he was pronounced dead 12 hours 35 on Sunday morning. Quick action by the police led to the suspect being apprehended and placed in custody as investigations continue. Old jeweler told police that the men broke a showcase and started removing jewelry. Investigators say the lone employee raised an alarm and one of the bandits whipped out a handgun and fired a shot. He was not injured. The employee says he ran for cover and the perpetrators then escaped out of the market. A 25-year-old man who changed his account as a witness in a murder trial is to be charged with perjury. Police say the man told police that during January 2021, he had been taken to the father of the accused, who had threatened him with consequences if he had not changed his story. According to the Guyana Police Force, on February 16, 2022, he went to the court and stated that he knew nothing about the matter. He is to be charged with willful and corrupt perjury. In the magistrate's court during the preliminary inquiry, he had initially testified about what he had seen on April 30, 2017, when John Hudson was allegedly murdered. At the questioning on Monday, he was cautioned in accordance with the judge's rules and he elected to tell his story. Now accused of perjury, he recalled giving a written statement to police on what he had witnessed on the night of the killing. A few weeks later, he had attended and positively identified the suspect at an identification parade and subsequently testified on the 30th of October 2017 at the Georgetown Magistrates Court, number 2, before Magistrate Miss Daly. And now in regional news. A medical practitioner says she remains confident after a High Court judge last weekend ordered the immediate reinstatement of her registration and practicing certificate. She had been suspended after she had been found to be prescribing and supplying the drug ivermectin to patients affected by the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. Last December, the outspoken medical practitioner was suspended for 6 months by the St. Lucia Medical and Dental Council. This was after indicating that she had been prescribing and supplying ivermectin to patients without authorization from the Ministry of Health or the Chief Medical Officer, and publicly encouraging its use to treat the virus. The Caribbean Media Corporation reports that last Friday, the Council of Representatives were not present at the High Court when the matter came up before Justice Rohan Phillip, who later ruled to reinstate Dr. St. Rose's registration and practicing certificate and stay the Council's decisions until the determination of the case. The matter comes up for hearing on April 28 this year. Ivermectin is an anti-parasitic drug most commonly used to treat livestock. It is US FDA approved for humans when treating lice, rosacea, and specific parasitic diseases, but not for COVID-19. The World Health Organization, WHO, says the current evidence on the use of ivermectin to treat COVID-19 patients is inconclusive. Suriname yesterday lifted curfew imposed as part of the measures aimed at curbing the spread of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. Health Minister Amar Ramadan said maintaining the lockdown makes no sense now because the curfew does not make any additional contribution to the current wave. The authorities said that the ban on people gathering has been increased from 10 to 50, but that parties remain prohibited and that clubs, among other things, are still not allowed to open. Justice and Police Minister Kenneth Amoxi and Police Commissioner Orlando Jacquet said as a result of the new measures, the authorities will step up their control and enforcement. The Caribbean Media Corporation says that Amoxi appealed to society not to abuse the relaxation and to behave responsibly. Ramadan said he believes it remains important to maintain a balance in the current COVID-19 care and to scale up regular care. COVID-19 has killed 1,310 and infected 77,716 others in the Dutch-speaking Caribbean nation since March 2020. The Caribbean Community CARICOM Secretariat is this week training Antigua and Barbuda immigration officials on the movement of CARICOM nationals and the facilitation of travel. The online training will be for 2 half days, the 22nd to the 23rd of February 2022, and will focus on the legal basis for the movement of skilled nationals, the CARICOM complaints procedure, and the role of immigration departments in facilitating the free movement of people. Other topics on the agenda cover administrative practices and procedures that govern the movement of service providers and an update on Antigua and Barbuda's status regarding implementation of the free movement of people within the CARICOM Single Market and Economy CSME. There will be approximately 25 participants in the training session, which is part of the CARICOM Secretariat's program of activities engaging stakeholders across the region on the CSME. An assessment will be done on the impact of rising cost of living in St. Martin. Dutch State Secretary of Kingdom Relations, Alexander van Huffelen, says authorities will examine the possibility of a 12.5% reduction in employment benefits of civil servants and semi-public sector entities. Those benefits had been instituted as one of the conditions for liquidity support and that the country received to help buffer the effects of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. Van Hufflen's remarks on the assessment and cuts was in response to a question on whether consideration was given to remove the 12.5% cuts. The state secretary said the issue of the cuts has been raised during her meetings in St. Martin as well as in the past, and she realizes that it is not easy on workers. She said the assessment should be completed by spring of this year. On the issue of possible liquidity support for the second quarter, she said nothing to this effect has been agreed to. And now for the international news. Here's the latest bulletin coming from the BBC World Service.
BBC News. Hello, this is Jerry Smith. There's been international condemnation of President Putin's decision to order Russian troops into breakaway regions of eastern Ukraine. The US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, described Mr. Putin's recognition of the independence of Donetsk and Luhansk as shameful and predictable. The EU promised to act with unity and firmness. Speaking to the BBC, Ukraine's former ambassador to Austria, Oleksandr Scherba, said President Putin's move was an incredible insult to all Ukrainians.
It made our blood boil. He basically declared we are nothing and our name is nobody. This is what Putin has been telling world leaders behind the scenes for quite a while. Ukraine isn't a real state. Maybe this explains why he never could get along with Ukraine. You can't get along with someone who you think doesn't exist.
Reports from Donetsk say large convoys of military vehicles were seen moving across the city within hours of Mr. Putin's announcement. The separatist rebels and the Ukrainian government have both reported further shelling. Our correspondent in Kiev, James Waterhouse, says Ukrainians are worried about how far President Putin is willing to go.
One of the main concerns is whether Russian troops, we're getting reports of some moving in along with military hardware. If they move in, are they going to then occupy what's already been taken by Russian-backed separatists or further advance and take the full regions of Luhansk and Donetsk? That would be crossing the conflict line, and Ukraine has made it clear it would defend itself.
The threat of conflict and sanctions against Russia has prompted stock markets to tumble and crude oil prices to surge to a 7-year high. The rise to almost $98 a barrel was sparked by fears of supply disruptions from Russia. Some of the world's largest natural gas exporting nations are meeting in Doha to discuss how to meet soaring world demand. Samir Hashmi reports.
The group known as the Gas Exporting Countries Forum consists of 11 countries who together account for more than 70% of proven gas reserves. The forum is likely to focus on tensions over Ukraine and what could happen to Europe's energy demand if Russia were to invade. European nations are frantically seeking alternative supplies to Russian gas, which feeds 40% of the European market. Natural gas prices have almost doubled since late 2020.
In other news, the UN Rights Office's special envoy to Myanmar has accused China, Russia and Serbia of supplying the Burmese military authorities with weapons used against civilians. Tom Andrews said fighter jets, armoured vehicles, rockets and artillery were among equipment being sold to the junta. He called on the UN Security Council to hold a vote on an arms embargo. World news from the BBC. Colombia's Constitutional Court has decriminalised abortion in the first 24 weeks of pregnancy. Until now, termination was only allowed in cases of rape, when the life of the mother was in danger, or if the fetus had serious health problems. The decision was celebrated by activists who've campaigned hard for change. Religious groups in Colombia, including the influential Roman Catholic Church, oppose the change. The Taliban say they're creating an army that will include soldiers and officers who served Afghanistan's previous government. A senior military official said it was part of an amnesty for everyone linked to the old administration. The Afghan military disintegrated when the Taliban took control last August. Those who were not evacuated by other countries have been keeping a low profile for fear of reprisals. Tonga has been reconnected to the world following repairs to a submarine cable severely damaged in the underwater volcanic eruption and tsunami just over a month ago. Will Leonardo has more.
Tonga is back online. For For weeks since the eruption last month, the 100,000 residents of the Pacific Island nation have been reliant on makeshift satellite services for the internet and phone calls. The 840-kilometre-long cable connecting Tonga with Fiji and onto the outside world was mangled in several places by the disaster, making repairs tricky. The Prime Minister, Siausi Sovaleni, expressed relief. He said the loss of the cable had been an eye-opener for Tongans. It had also left many reliant on remittances from abroad struggling for money. There's still work to do, though, with cables connecting outlying islands also needing repair.
One of the world's biggest banks, HSBC, says its pre-tax profits more than doubled last year as the global economy started to recover from the pandemic. Profits rose to nearly $19 billion, $10 billion more than in 2020. Although it has its headquarters in London, HSBC makes 90% of its profit in Asia. BBC News.
The news came to you with the compliments of Eureka Medical Laboratories.
Don't let the fear of contracting the coronavirus disease deter you from seeking the medical care you need. At Eureka Labs, we ensure the safety of our clients and staff with our rigid sanitization routine. This involves the use of ultraviolet lights to effectively rid the air and all surfaces of viruses and bacteria that may be present throughout the lab daily. The light works to rapidly inactivate microorganisms through a physical process that is invisible to human eye. So the next time you need a checkup, don't hesitate to give us a call on 225-7574 to schedule your appointment.
And now to end the news, here is a recap of the leads. A search team has spotted fishing gear from the sunken trawler, but there has so far been no sign of the missing fishermen. A man wanted for the shooting death of his son-in-law has been arrested at an international airport attempting to leave Guyana. In regional news, Suriname has lifted its COVID measures. And that's the end of the news.
This has been the news, compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom. For ongoing updates, visit demerarawaves.com, and you can check facebook.com/demwaves and twitter.com/demwaves.